My name is Alma, and at 26 years old, I threw myself a birthday party for my 25th birthday. My parents didn't show up, but my sister brought her friends. They trashed the house and locked me out in the cold. Just for fun. I didn't make a scene. I just did this 4 weeks later. My sister was sobbing at the police station. If you have ever felt betrayed by the people who should have been your biggest supporters, let me know where you are watching from. I threw myself a birthday party for my 25th. Not a rager, not a big dramatic bash, just dinner. Small, family only, home cooked. You know, like a normal person, trying to reconnect with the people who made her. I had this totally naive idea that if I made it meaningful enough, maybe they'd show up, literally and emotionally. Spoiler, they didn't. I just moved into a new apartment. It was sleek, clean, and didn't smell like decades of someone else's cooking oil. A soft upgrade from the shoebox I used to rent, with peeling laminate and neighbors who screamed at each other through the walls. I scrubbed it for 2 days, like a real estate agent was coming for a photo shoot. Candles, cloth napkins, actual glassware that hadn't come from a gas station promotion. I cooked short ribs from scratch, my mom's favorite, because apparently I still thought that would mean something. Dinner was set for 6. At 6:05, the short ribs were going cold, and I was standing by the window like a Labrador, waiting for someone to come home. 6:10. I called my mom. She answered with that bright, apologetic voice she uses when she's about to do something objectively awful, but doesn't want to be held accountable for it. "Oh, sweetheart, we forgot to tell you. We have tickets to the opera tonight, non-refundable. Tonight, so you're not coming. Rain check, okay? Love you." Love you, sure, just not enough to reschedule your night of fancy singing. I didn't bother calling my dad. He was either already in his seat at the opera or pretending not to know what day it was. Next, I tried Grandma. She picked up mid-laughter. "Oh, Alma, honey, I'm out with my ladies tonight. Bunko night, I thought you knew." Nope. But hey, nothing says beloved granddaughter like being ditched for a dice game and spinach dip. "I'll see you at Emily's on Saturday," she added cheerfully, Emily being my cousin, the golden child. She probably gets custom gift baskets just for remembering to breathe. So by 6:30, I was staring at a perfectly set table, candles flickering, food untouched, all dressed up in a clean apartment filled with silence. But wait, it gets better. Brielle, my younger sister, texted me at 7:58 p.m. Bringing a few PPL, hope that's okay. Spoiler, it was not okay. But oh right, she showed up at 8:15 with 10 people, 10 strangers. One of them was wearing sunglasses indoors, and another asked me if I was the roommate. They tumbled in like I was hosting an after-party and they'd lost the address. Brielle blew past me with a happy birthday, like she just remembered what day it was. I figured more the merrier, she said, handing me a bottle of wine she didn't buy. They rated the food I made like it was a Vegas buffet. One of them poured vodka into my wine glasses. Another started DJing from my Bluetooth speaker, replacing my soft background jazz with what can only be described as electronic chaos. I pulled Brielle aside. "I didn't plan for this. I have work tomorrow." She blinked like I'd just spoken in Morse code. "Hey, well, relax. It's your birthday. Be fun for once, right?" Be fun. The recurring feedback note of my entire childhood. At some point, someone yelled, "Hey, Alma, can you check outside? I think the food delivery is here." I stepped out, because I'm still the kind of person who assumes people mean what they say. The door closed behind me, locked. I knocked lightly at first, then harder. Nothing. The music was so loud the hallway vibrated. I waited. I tried again. Still nothing. After 5 minutes of standing in the cold, like a doorman with bad luck, I walked down to my car, sat in the driver's seat, and stared straight ahead. I could still hear the bass thumping. I could see shadows moving through the windows. The house party was in full swing without me, and not a single person noticed I was gone. I didn't cry right away, not because I'm strong, but because I was too stunned to process the absurdity of it. I threw a dinner for the people who raised me, and I ended up locked outside my own apartment by people who didn't know whose name was on the lease. That's when the tears came. Quiet ones. The kind that sneak up on you when your body realizes you're not joking anymore. And then I picked up my phone, not to call anyone, but to make a few edits. First, bank app. Canceled the $600 monthly auto transfer to my parents' mortgage. I'd been helping out, just until Dad's hours picked back up. That was over 2 years ago. Then, Tuition account. I'd been co-paying Brielle's grad school tuition since she decided media studies was her calling. Paused the payment, then clicked permanently withdraw support. I wasn't angry, not yet, just crystal clear. They didn't forget me. They just didn't think I mattered enough to prioritize. That's a different kind of sting. I sat there until the music faded, until the house got quiet, until my candles burned out inside and my birthday died quietly outside. But something shifted in that car. They thought it was just a party. What they didn't realize was that they'd handed me a match and pointed at the bridge. The morning after the party, or whatever that was, I stepped back into my apartment like a guest walking into the aftermath of someone else's bad decisions. The smell hit me first, a mix of alcohol, burned wax, and the unmistakable scent of someone's cologne that I was 99% sure had come from my bathroom shelf. My living room looked like a group project for people who'd never cleaned before. Wine rings on the coffee table, a crushed bag of chips on the floor, a sticky patch on the rug that I didn't even want to investigate. My decorative bookshelf was missing half its plants. Someone had shoved an empty beer can into the soil of my snake plant, like it was a recycling bin. And then there was the bed. My bed, crumpled sheets, makeup on the pillow, someone else's jacket at the foot. I didn't even want to know who had slept there, or with whom. I didn't say a word. I just started taking pictures. Photo after photo, quietly, like I was collecting evidence at a crime scene, which emotionally wasn't that far off. Brielle came out of the kitchen, holding a cold slice of birthday cake with her bare hands. "Hey, last night was wild, huh?" I looked at her. She looked at me, like we were co-stars in a buddy comedy. "You good?" she asked, mouthful. I stared at her, then past her to the wreckage of my evening. "Do you even know I slept in my car?" She blinked. "Wait, seriously? I thought you left to go see someone or something." "Of course. Why would it even register that I never came back in? That I might have been locked out? That maybe, just maybe, I didn't want to spend my birthday shivering in a Honda Civic while strangers use my toothbrush as a stirring stick." She laughed. "You're so dramatic sometimes. I mean, it was just a party." I didn't answer. I didn't have to. I'd already started making the cuts. But here's the thing. This wasn't new. Not really. This wasn't the first time I've been forgotten. Just the first time they did it with music playing. Growing up, I was the reliable one. The solid one. Elma can handle it. Elma doesn't need much. Elma's fine. I was 3 years older than Brielle, old enough to remember the shift when she was born, the way my mom's eyes sparkled around her, the way my dad's arms always seemed more open when she ran into them. She was the sparkly one, the fun one, the one with the dimples and the perfectly timed jokes. I was the straight A kid who made her own lunches and didn't complain when my birthday was rescheduled 3 years in a row, once for a flat tire, once for a last-minute vacation. They forgot to tell me about, once because Brielle's gymnastics tournament took priority. Spoiler, she placed 4th out of 5. I remember one Halloween when I asked to be Hermione Granger. My mom told me she didn't have time to figure out a costume, but Brielle got a handmade Elsa dress and glitter in her hair. I went as a student, which, in case you're wondering, is not a costume. At 14, I got accepted into a competitive writing program. My parents glanced at the email and told me, "That's nice." When Brielle got chosen to be the school mascot in 10th grade, they brought balloons to her tryout. By the time I graduated college early with honors, they said, "We're proud of you," and then immediately changed the subject to Brielle's upcoming spring break trip. So yeah, I'd been invisible for a while. That birthday dinner was just the first time I stopped pretending it didn't hurt. And I know what you're thinking. Why did I keep trying? Because hope is stupid like that. It makes you believe that maybe this time will be different. That if you just do enough, if you just are enough, they'll see you. So I kept showing up. I helped pay the mortgage when my dad's hours got cut. I chipped in for Grandma's medical bills when she needed dental work. I paid a third of Brielle's grad school tuition because she said she couldn't focus on studying with money stress. I was always the helper, the fixer, the invisible scaffolding holding up their lives. But that morning, standing in my own apartment like a stranger in someone else's mess, something shifted. Brielle went back to scrolling on her phone. One of her friends emerged from the bathroom, looking like a raccoon who'd lost its will to live. No one offered to clean. No one said thank you. No one even asked how I'd slept. I walked past them, all quiet, and closed my bedroom door behind me. I sat on the edge of the bed and let the silence settle. For the first time, I wasn't wondering if I'd done something wrong. I was wondering what would happen if I finally stopped doing everything right. Brielle left without saying goodbye. Not that I expected anything resembling an apology or even basic self-awareness, but a sorry for turning your birthday into a frat party would have been a nice surprise. She didn't text, she didn't call, she didn't even fake concern about the wine-stained rug or the fact that someone had slept in my bed with their makeup on and left half a lash strip on the pillow. So I sent her the invoice. It wasn't passive-aggressive, it was just aggressive and accurate. $1,235, itemized, $300 for professional deep cleaning. Yes, that was wine in the floorboards. $150 for new bedding. $85 for a ruined rug. $90 for a replacement decanter. And $600 to replace my sanity. Kidding mostly. I attached photos of the damage, included a due date, and sent it with the subject line, Cost of Chaos. No snarky message, no emoji, just the facts. She read it, left me on the scene, then posted it to Instagram. Not the whole thing, obviously, just the total and the first line, cut off for dramatic effect. My sister invited me to her birthday dinner and then sent me a bill. Pull underneath, insane or iconic. Apparently, I'm the villain in her story. The neurotic big sister who dared to ask for compensation after being locked out of her own apartment. The comments were about what you'd expect. What kind of psycho charges family? Girl, what did you do? Ugh! She sounds like she watches true crime and takes notes. My personal favorite, this is why I don't talk to my sister either. They're always jealous. Jealous of what? Her minimum credit score? Her ability to weaponize brunch? It would have been laughable if it didn't sting, because in that moment, I realized something. She really didn't think she'd done anything wrong. Not just Brielle, none of them did. The next day, the phone rang. Because of course. Alma, she said immediately, exasperated. What is this thing Brielle posted? Did you really send her a bill? She trashed my apartment, I said. That wasn't a visit. That was a home invasion with wine coolers. She said it was an accident. So is Chernobyl. She's your sister. You keep saying that like it's a coupon for free labor. There was a pause, then, and I heard you pulled out of the tuition payments. Oh, that, I said. Was I supposed to ask permission? You could have given us a heads up. You could have shown up to dinner. That's not the same. No, I said. One is common courtesy. The other is me financially carrying a woman who doesn't know how to use a trash can. She gasped. That's cruel. She posted my invoice on Instagram with a crying laugh emoji. I think the cruelty ship has sailed. Another pause, longer this time. Then, we're asking you to reconsider. I let the silence stretch. Because she needs the help, she added. Or because you do. Guess she didn't like the question. The day after that, my dad called, which was like a lunar eclipse, rare, weirdly timed, and usually followed by a sense of dread. You know your mom's upset. She usually is. We might have to cancel our trip to Arizona, you know that, right? Right, I said. Because I stopped covering your mortgage? A beat. We relied on that, he said. And for once, he didn't sound angry, just tired. We weren't expecting you to just cut it off like that. You weren't expecting me to grow a spine. He sighed. You're making this all about money. No, I said. I'm making it about respect. Another pause. You're throwing away your family over a bad night. That's the thing, I said. It wasn't just a bad night. It was the final one. Then came Brielle. She didn't call. She just showed up. Hair messy, hoodie oversized, phone in hand. I opened the door and leaned against the frame. Hey, she said. I waited. I got dropped from the tuition plan. I'm behind on rent and now I have to get a job. Like an actual job. I raised an eyebrow. That's usually how it works. I've never worked during school before. And I've never been locked out of my own apartment before. We're both experiencing growth. She narrowed her eyes. You're punishing me. No, I said. I'm just not volunteering for more damage. She stared at me like I was speaking a different language. Maybe I was. Because I was speaking in limits. Boundaries. Things she'd never been asked to understand before. I don't have time for this, she muttered, then turned and walked away. Good. I didn't either. That night, I sat on my freshly cleaned couch in my freshly cleaned apartment and finally breathed. I wasn't waiting for another apology that wouldn't come. I wasn't hoping they'd text me first. I wasn't checking social media to see if someone had posted another vague insult about cold-hearted sisters. I was just alone, but for the first time it didn't feel lonely. It felt like mine. The notification came in at 3:06 a.m. Your card was used for a $2,438 payment at PNW Tuition Services. I stared at it for a second, assuming it was some kind of delayed charge, but the number didn't match any previous invoice. And I definitely hadn't approved a payment in the middle of the night. And then it hit me, Brielle. I'd forgotten that card was still linked to her school's online portal. Rookie mistake. She didn't ask, didn't even warn me. Just waited until I was distracted, logged in, and used my account like it was her own personal emergency fund. She didn't just cross a line, she lit it on fire. By noon, I was sitting in a plastic chair at the precinct, filing an official report for unauthorized use of my credit card. I also handed over the photos and itemized damage list from the party I never wanted. It wasn't petty, it was necessary, because if no one else was going to draw the line with her, I would. She called the next day. Unknown number. I only picked up because I thought it might be the bank. Alma! Her voice cracked, like it had been holding everything back until now. I'm at the police station. I didn't say anything. They called me in. They said you reported me over the tuition payment. Correct. You could have just asked me to pay it back. You didn't have to... Her voice broke. You didn't have to do this. You didn't ask when you took it. There was a pause. Then, full meltdown. I didn't know what else to do. I couldn't get the payment through in time, and the school said I'd lose my spot. I couldn't go back to working the cafe, Alma. I was exhausted. I couldn't study. My friends all ditched me because I was always working and tired. I was falling behind, and She choked out the last part. I didn't know what else to do. It was the most honest thing she'd said in years, and still, I didn't flinch. You stole from me, I said. You humiliated me, lied to everyone about it, then used my credit card behind my back. I was desperate. I was, too, the night I sat in my freezing car while you laughed with your friends inside my apartment. Silence, please, she whispered. Can you just drop the charges? I let that hang in the air. Then I said no, and I hung up. She was ordered to pay me back every cent in installments, with interest. The tuition charge, the apartment damage, everything. $3,773. She called it financial ruin. I called it finally growing up. A week later, my parents showed up uninvited. Of course, that was the family brand. I opened the door and saw them both. Mom with her judgment face already loaded, Dad standing behind her, like backup muscle with a mortgage. We need to talk, Mom said. Not really, I replied. She walked in anyway. Dad followed, arms crossed, jaw tight, like someone had dared him to parent for once in his life. I can't believe you reported your own sister to the police, Mom snapped. Do you understand what you've done to this family? I think the better question is, do you understand what you did to it? We raised you. We gave you everything. You raised me to be quiet while you overlooked me. You gave Brielle everything. I paid for the house you live in. Dad stepped in. We're not doing this again. This tantrum, this act. It's gone on long enough. Act? I laughed. You think this is an act? You think I'm playing? You're punishing us for something that happened one night, Mom said. One night? I'm done being the bank account, the babysitter, the emotional sponge. You didn't come to my birthday. You let my sister ruin my home and my name, and when I stood up for myself, you blamed me. You could have talked to us. I tried, for 25 years. They stood there, speechless. So I delivered the final line. You want help? You want money? You want access to me? They nodded, too fast, too hopeful. Then, you should have treated me like family when it counted, and I pointed at the door. Now get out. I didn't slam the door. I closed it gently, firmly, like sealing a box you're done unpacking. Then I did the last few things I needed to do. I blocked Brielle's number, removed my name from every shared account, left the family group chat, deleted the contacts. Not because I was angry, but because I wasn't planning on reopening the wound. And then silence. The kind that doesn't ask anything from you. The kind that fills your apartment and your bones, like fresh air after a storm. A few weeks passed. Nothing from them. And for the first time in forever, I had room. Actual space to breathe. I started saying yes to happy hour. Started texting back the friend I kept canceling on. Started sleeping better, laughing more, spending money on things that actually brought me joy, like therapy and dinner with people who showed up. On my 26th birthday, I didn't throw a dinner. I didn't light candles or cook a meal no one would eat. Instead, I ordered pizza, wore sweats, and had 3 friends over who brought wine, laughter, and 0 expectations. And that night, when someone raised a glass and said, "To people who actually show up," I smiled. Not because it was clever, but because this time I knew they meant me. I know some people will say I went too far, and maybe once I would have wondered that too. But now I sleep better. I smile easier. And for the first time in my life, I don't feel like someone's backup plan. Still, do you think I did the right thing? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more stories like this, don't forget to subscribe.